Back to our episode of FSi DFS Fantasy NASCAR Picks. I'm your host, Mike31. So if you watched the truck race yesterday, like you knew there potentially was some weather, and that's what happened. So they didn't have a qualifying, but they did have practice. Corey Heim was out there most of the race. Kudos to Caruth. They had a good team, good truck there, and he ended up getting the win. So on to Xfinity today, another night race. It looks like practice and qualifying should be okay. Another little bit of a tight window where you only have a couple hours to get the lineups built. So we got to do a speculation video here. So Nashville track, it's a mile and a third, so it's a little bit shorter than a mile and a half concrete. Comparable tracks are Darlington mostly, and then like high speed intermediates like Charlotte, Texas, and Atlanta. So Atlanta's more like a super speedway. I didn't use that. Trucks weren't at Darlington, but Xfinity was. So that's where I'm kind of leaning on for my projection model until we actually get qualifying and see a little bit of practice there. So last year we had three dominators, and none of them are in the race this year. It was John Hunter Nemechek. I think it was maybe Noah Gray or Ty Gibbs and somebody else. But there's a lot of cup guys that drop down in this. I don't know if they're trying to start a band, want to win like multiple cars over the course of the weekend because that's the prize for the race winner. You have some cup guys in here today. So we'll just have to see how this all shakes out. So let's just go through the field. And Allgaier looks like, model data mostly should get the pole. Finished eighth here last year, struggled at Texas, but Darlington and Charlotte were up in the top five. So I think he's definitely one to look at as a dominator here. Zilich, sixth and second. You know, Texas, it might be the race that he missed with the back injury, but I think he's an upside dominator here. Ross Chastain, actually, why are they? Let's sort it by finishing position. I'm sorry about that. So starting back at the top here. So Algar, definitely on the pole. Taylor Gray has been qualifying well, but the last couple of races he's been finishing at 30th. A lot of issues. So GPP for me, I think he's one to take a shot in a tournament because if he'll have low ownership based on his current form. Eric Almirola, and I like him better on short or flatter tracks like New Hampshire and Phoenix, but I think he's definitely one to look at here. I have him as a dominator, but he might be more of an upside dominator. The kind of and I'll talk about that in a bit, but and I listed Chastain as dominator, but he just statistically in the model hasn't qualified well. So I think between Allgaier, Almirola, and Chastain, they're definitely good candidates if they're up towards the front. I think one could potentially be the first dominator, and then one of these guys that don't normally run could be the second dominator. But I also don't account out Austin Hill because Austin Hill and Jesse Love, they both had strong cars last year. And I think they were the top two finishers that are still in the field this year. The rest of them, like I said, were cup guys. So we're definitely going to be looking at those five as probably to try to get in as like two dominators there. So I think Creed could be, or Mayer could be an upside dominator. Creed, a GPP play. I think both Haas cars have been good, but Mayer's just got the better results. So I think both of them are kind of GPP plays. I wouldn't play them in cash unless one of them has the pole and looked outstanding in practice. And then I think rounding out the Dominator group, Jones and Quaffle have both showed some, or actually Zilich and Jones there have both showed some upside. Sixth and second, and for Zilich, and for Jones, he won Darlington, struggled a bit at Charlotte, but Texas was good. So he's just so erratic. That's why I always play him as a GPP. Sometimes that's the 100K guy. So if the other 100K guys don't look like they're going to be good plays, if they're starting too far forward or like their practice speeds are horrible, then Jones would definitely potentially become a candidate for that. Quaffle GPP here all over the place. Fit the Darlington, which is good, but then the teens at some other comparable tracks, so can't play him in cash. Jesse Love I have as the 1K guy here, just because pricing wise, I think the ownership's gonna be low, and I don't think people are gonna get to him because I think people are gonna gravitate towards Chastain, Allgaier, and Almirola, and maybe Austin Hill. And I think he's going to maybe even Zilich just based on like the sixth and second place finish and comparable tracks. So I think that he kind of gets lost in the shuffle here, and I think that's why he possibly could be the perfect 100K play here, or 10K play or 20K, whatever the top GPP is. They keep on switching up through the course of the season. So, anyways, when you see those black ones with the gold, it's the top GPP that's out there. It's usually like what 15, $18, some $20, something like that. Die, I think, can be a cash play. If you take out the 31st at Charlotte, it's been pretty solid um, this season. Burton, I'm going to give the prime. I don't think he's going to start 12th. I think he's starting way too far forward. But if 20th at Charlotte's the lowest, 15th and the 10th, I mean, it's been pretty solid results here for him on these types of tracks. So if you're going to need some value, 6,500, I think he's going to probably end up, unless he qualifies egregiously high or looks super slow, turtle slow in practice, he's going to be a prime play. Burton and Di Benedetto, I like also. Di Benedetto, Charlotte had like issues, but overall, like he usually qualifies in the 20s and finishes in the 20s, so it's some solid floor there. And Burton's having a solid season too. Take out like the 21st at Charlotte, he's usually a top 15 car, has potential for a top 10. So as long as he doesn't qualify again super high, then he should be good. I guess I'm going to put as a prime play just because if you take out the 38th at Texas, um, top 10s at most comparable tracks, and he absolutely dominated the truck race here last year. He led all 150 laps of it. And again, it's a different equipment, different situation, but I still think that his knowledge of the track and he should have some place differential, and the price of 76 is pretty fair. So, Sanchez, I think is I'm missing a prime play, so not get coded correctly. Let's hopefully on those prime. Okay. So Sanchez, I think can definitely be a cash play. Again, 20th in Texas, but if you look at the other more recent races, well, Texas wasn't too Darlington was for Texas, but eighth and third, I think that's pretty solid for this big machine racing. Sammy Smith issue at Charlotte, kind of all over the place, but JR Motorsports car is usually pretty reliable. So I think you can play them in cash, maybe a GPP, but I think probably cash once we see everything. Ryan Sieg, such consistency here, top 15 usually. So again, if he doesn't qualify too high, and there's sometimes where he doesn't, he qualifies in like the 20s or 30s, and it's a great play because he always usually gets up there towards the front. Perkins at 55 is a solid play, but looking probably anywhere from 25th, 26th finish. So you have to see where he qualifies for that. I'm afraid I'm going to give the 100K because he had really great results last year. He had a top 15 here. If you look at the rest of the comparable numbers, like it doesn't look as good, but I think he does have the upside to be sneaky and low owned. So Walich, and Joe Gibbs card is definitely a decent card here. 18th was the lowest in the comparable tracks. So as long as he qualifies maybe 15th or lower, I think he's a solid cash play. Clement always playing cash. I throw out the Texas 31, usually solid results. Usually starts around 25th. Usually finishes there or a little bit higher. So always has the floor I'm looking for. Same thing with Pool. Solid play at 59 here, 19th, 22nd, 17th. That is consistency. That's what I love between Clement and Pool. So definitely they are cash staples for me usually. Thompson is a little bit more expensive and a little bit more range of outcomes. So I think he has a little bit more upside, but a little bit more downside for a cash play. But I think if you can get into the 6K range, that he's solid there also. Ellis, GPP, and the eighth at Charlotte is kind of an outlier. I think he's more of like a 22nd place car. So if he starts here and finishes here, then he could become a cash play if he starts below 25th. Wyatt Snyder, I'm going to throw out as a 10K play because we don't have any data on him. It's been a while since he's driven an Xfinity, but he used to be a regular in the series. The DGM car is not horrible. So I think he has some upside there. But if he does looks terrible in practice, like I said, I think that 10K might move up to Brandon Jones. Right, all over the place. GPP, maybe a fade. And I always struggle with this one. A News Zeta. Uh, this Cope family car and mixed results again, so I think it's a GPP, maybe a punt. Um, it seemed to be better than some of like the Alpha Prime cars recently and the Joey Gase cars, so you have to keep watching that. Chastain, like I said, I don't think he's going to qualify this far down. I think he could be dominated. I think he could be a cash play, but it might be a split cash one where um, sometimes I do that with regular, like in the truck race. If I have Bush in the race and Corey Heim, I'll play one line with Corey Heim and one line with Bush. Sometimes you can play them together. I tried to give you some prime plays that are pretty cheap to make that happen if you want to. So, Maggio, Joey Gase cars I don't trust, a fade for me. Bearden, GPP, not much. SNS green light car is okay. Have to see how he's in practice. Williams gets a GPP. He's been a cash staple, but just really hasn't performed well recently. So I don't know what's going on there. But until he bounces back into form, I'm not playing him in cash. Sieg, sometimes a cash play, but again, same thing as kind of with Williams. The form just hasn't been there recently, so we'll have to see how he looks. They both look in practice. They could make the cash list when all said and done, but I'm not sure about that. Lens had I thought about cash. It all depends. The SNS Greenlight car, I think's okay. Pretty consistent results, 27, 27, 29 for 5-1. So if you want to punt in this 5K range, I think maybe we go there. And because I did change one to a prime, let me just make him cash for now as a kind of a bookmark to look at it when all said and done. Because I think if you're trying to get multiple like three king lineup, where I usually say if you're trying to get 3 high 9 or 10K plus guys in a lineup, then he might be one that you need to throw in as filler to make your lineup work. Earnhardt to GPP, Sam Hunt, I like the carb, but he's had mixed results and doesn't race that often. So, but I think he's solid. Just have to check out the practice. Retzloff is really declining. Texas decent, Darlington 20th, but Charlotte 37th just recently. He's looked like a great place differential play and just gotten into trouble or having mechanical issues. So again, kind of like Williams and Kyle Sieg, I'm gonna wait for them to sort it out before I continue to play and waste money. Connor Dave could put a prime down here again. This one could easily change, but he's in the Hendricks car. He doesn't race that often. Had the 16th in Texas. So ran the truck race yesterday, I believe. I get Corey and Connor mixed up sometimes. Maybe it wasn't there, but anyways, I think solid enough talent there at 7,300. This is probably the one that would most likely change based on how they do a practice and qualifying. But one to also just bookmark to keep your eye on as maybe a potential cash play. Um, Mason, the GPP here for Alpha Prime again, like the carts have been struggling mechanically recently and with speed, so not super on them. And Leggy, I don't know if she'll qualify, and same thing with Glenn Reen. So I don't think they'll take 40 cars in this race. Usually take 38, and if my guess is who's going to miss, it's me, Leggy and Reen. So I got for you. If you have any questions, put them in the chat below. Hit me at Mayrow31 on Twitter/X. If you want the actual sheet, then go to subscribe video and go to FSi. It's $5 for the weekend. If you get in late enough, it usually covers you for like into the next weekend because it's actually not just this weekend, it's a physical week from when you signed up. So the race is later tonight, so sign up like 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock. I don't know when the race starts. I think it starts at 7 or something, but sign up like an hour before the race. All the content will be there, and you'll probably get into content for next weekend too as kind of a bonus. So um, and this videos help us back, like, subscribe, share with friends. So thanks for watching. Good luck in your contest. I'll see you next time.